programming is brought to you by Local Video Marketing in association with CoachChick.com.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Hockey Nutrition with Kim. This is Kim Lukhard, Hockey Mom RD, and today I'm sharing with you Module 1 from my Create Your Skater's Meal Plan template. It's a self-paced workshop to help your skater eat, skate, win. So today's agenda, we'll be focusing on what the different fueling categories are for sports, including hockey, the importance of carbohydrates, what are the mighty macros, why it's important to identify the foods your skater will eat, and how to create a breakfast and a mid-morning snack for your skater. So the three categories for sports are the following: endurance sports, including cross-country, rowing, long distance, cycling, swimming, and running, and triathlons. Strength and power include baseball, softball, cheerleading, gymnastics, volleyball, track and field, and wrestling. And then the stop and go sports: ice hockey, field hockey, figure skating, soccer, rugby, lacrosse, basketball, and tennis. So it's important to understand what type of activity fuels your skater's sport. There's aerobic activity, which uses oxygen, and anaerobic activity, which still uses a little bit of oxygen, but not much at all. Those are fast bursts of activity. Aerobic activities can use fat for fuel, and anaerobic activities rely heavily on carbohydrates for fuel. It's important to note that strength and power sports and stop and go sports are predominantly anaerobic sports. Carbohydrates can be stored in the muscles as glycogen, and this glycogen is used to power your skaters' hockey shifts. And when their glycogen runs low, your skaters' muscles will begin to get tired. If they've ever mentioned that they feel like they have lead legs, it could be that maybe they haven't been eating enough carbohydrates in their diet leading up to their time on the ice. So therefore their body hasn't made enough glycogen stores for their energy and their power that's needed. Anaerobic activity is fueled primarily by fast twitch muscle fibers, and these muscle fibers don't use much oxygen. Therefore, they can't burn fat, so they rely on carbohydrates in the form of glycogen for energy. And with hockey shifts being 30 to 90 seconds of very fast skating, that is an anaerobic activity, and your skater must have a good source and a good amount of carbohydrates in their daily meal plan, not just right before the game. Let's go ahead and talk about the mighty macros. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are called macronutrients because your skater needs a lot of them each day. These are the nutrients that provide your skater with calories for their activity and for their growth. The carbohydrate food group has a whole bunch of different foods in it. The first ones we're going to cover are the bread, cereal, and grain group. And on this slide, you see some examples of what a serving size looks like for some of the foods, like say a slice of bread, a third of a cup of cooked pasta or rice, cereal, oatmeal, grits, bagel, English muffins, crackers, legumes, corn, peas, and popcorn. Now the serving size is going to vary, and especially for like breakfast cereal, you want to look on the side of the food label box, but that might even be a little too much. So it's safe to go with like a half a cup to a cup of cereal. You want to aim for one carbohydrate serving contains 15 grams of carbs, if that helps you out. The fruit group is also in the carbohydrate group. So one small apple about the size of a tennis ball, 2 clementines, half of a banana, a plum, 17 grapes, 2 tablespoons of raisins, a half a cup of juice, or a pear. Those are some examples of fruits that the majority of the skaters that I've worked with like. You can substitute blueberries and cranberries in the dried form for raisins, and the amount will be the same. Now, some juices are less than a half a cup, but the majority of the skaters that I've worked with like orange juice, and that's right at a half a cup for one serving. And then we have the dairy group. The dairy group includes cow's milk and any milk alternatives, yogurts, Greek yogurt, as well as any yogurt alternative like a coconut yogurt, almond milk yogurt, soy yogurt, and those, they're going to vary in their carbohydrates and their protein amounts. Typically, a Greek yogurt is going to have more protein than a regular yogurt. And this group does contain carbohydrates as well as protein. So depending on which you're choosing, if you're choosing a cow's milk or a cow's yogurt, there's going to be a little bit more protein in it than a milk alternative or a yogurt alternative. However, across the board, you're going to be getting carbohydrates and a little bit of protein. And then we have the protein group, which includes animal sources and vegetarian sources. So some animal sources would be meat, fish, poultry, pork, eggs, cottage cheese, and cheese curds. And legumes are a great example of how to get a good amount of protein from a non-animal source. So that would be like black beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, great northern beans. The important thing to remember about the animal foods is it's going to vary in fat. And the important thing to realize about any non-animal form of protein is going to vary in the amount of fiber. So fat and fiber can lead to cramping and slowing your skater down if eaten too close to ice time. Then the fat group contains a wide variety of foods also. Cheeses, oils, chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, salad dressings, mayonnaise, nuts and nut butters, tahini, and olives. And the serving size is going to vary greatly in this food group. Now, it's going to be a smaller serving size because fats do contain about twice the amount of calories as carbohydrates or protein, but they are needed in your skater's meal plan because they help your skater's body absorb the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. So what your skater eats and doesn't eat is very, very important because when you're starting to learn how to create your skater's meal plan template, you want to choose foods that they're going to eat. Of course, you want to make them hockey strong choices, but you want to work within what they like to eat, and that will help you create a meal plan template for them. So to create your skater's breakfast, you're going to choose 2 starches, 1 fruit, 1 dairy, and 2 to 3 fats. So this will provide some protein and most importantly, a whole bunch of carbohydrates for your skater to start the day and a little bit of fat. And then for their mid-morning snack, you're going to want to choose a fruit serving and a protein serving. So day 1 action step is go ahead and create your skater's breakfast and mid-morning snack. Go back and watch this training again and pick out your starches, your fruits, dairies, and fats for your skater's breakfast, and then the fruit and the protein for your skater's mid-morning snack. And over the next few months, I'm going to be sharing this course on Coach Chick's channel. So you can tune back here in December, and I will be sharing with you Module 2. Or if you'd like to dive in and go ahead and get started and have my help in a private Facebook group where you can ask me questions, go ahead and email me at hockeymomrd@gmail.com. And please type Coach Chick in the subject line, and I will be happy to share with you more about this workshop. Here's to your skater's success and happy skating till next time. This is Kim Lukhard, Hockey Mom RD.
Make no mistake about it, our sport is all about motion. And I've found that I can unbelievably improve a player's skating, their rhythm, their power, and their efficiency with these exclusive off-ice methods. I can also help older players with their explosive strength, toughness, and conditioning.
My name is Shawnee Harlee. I'm a two-time Olympian and mental toughness coach. When I work with athletes, I ask them this: are you coachable? They're like, yes, I am so coachable. I'm like, awesome. Keep doing that. It's important to be coachable as an athlete. But then I go and watch. I watch their training, I watch their practices, I watch the competitions, the games, and I wonder if we need to change the definition of coachable. Because I'll tell you what I see. I see compliance. I see little robots and puppets doing exactly as they're told. Go here, go there, don't go there, do go here. Drink, your drink is over. Do it because I said so. Do we want compliance? Or do we want our athletes to be coachable? Here's what I think coachable is. Have a voice. Have an opinion. Raise your hand. Ask questions. Ask why. But we do it with a tone of curiosity. And that's what makes us coachable, because we're curious about the answers. We're curious about why we're doing it like this. We're curious if there might be a different way. Do we want robots and puppets? Or do we want athletes that are independent thinkers? Do we want athletes that are creative and know how to save themselves in the middle of the storm? Because the storm is coming. And most of the storms in sport are emotional, not physical. So let's build and grow coachable athletes rather than robots who are compliant.
Hi, I'm Dennis's mascot, Professor B, and my main job is to recommend some of the awesome, and even free, hockey advice on his CoachChic.com website. But I also want to point out how accessible he is. You can drop him a note. You can ask the coach a question. And you can schedule a free webcam meeting at your convenience. However, I mainly want to remind every hockey coach, parent, and adult player to take advantage of the extensive free stuff. Dennis and I are hoping to see you there.
Group members may have watched a few weeks back as I bantered with an old coaching friend from back in New England. My reference was to his return from attaining his level 5 certification and the ideas he shared with me in reference to puckhandling. For those who don't know, I just love developing puck handlers. But I suspect you'll understand that better within a few minutes. Now, we're still talking about specificity here, as well as the nature of our game. In other words, I think we coaches have to study the challenges our players face with the puck as they deal with the helter-skelter craziness of our game. Still, as wild as the game can be, I'm going to suggest that we coaches have to teach puck handling skills in the same kind of progressions we use in teaching skating. I mean, we should start by slowly teaching the basic movements and then gradually increase the pace to the way that skill is used in the heat of battle. As for the basics, I'll suggest that puck handling has to be gradually performed in all directions.
It has to also include the use of two hands and then one hand, if a player is to ultimately be tricky with the puck. Then, I happen to call this skill puckhandling because it involves more than just using one stick. Yeah, advanced players are good with their feet, and they can even incorporate the skates in their dekes. Now, here are a couple of things you may not have thought about. First, whether you've noticed it or not, the best players lose the puck often while on the attack. I mean, the puck often squirts away from them momentarily, but the best have quick hands that allow them to retrieve the puck without it even being noticed. Secondly, puck handling tends to be an asymmetric movement, or it usually involves more than one physical challenge at a time. In other words, a player has to handle a puck while skating, dodging enemy checks, jumping sticks, and so much more. Of course, we can practice those conditions in both on-ice and off-ice practices. And if you'll notice here, we can use all sorts of training devices to mimic game-like conditions. Oh, going back to my Rhode Island coaching friend again, what I remember most was the idea he shared about really screwing with the players' motor neurons. Yeah, I love the idea, and that caused me to find several different colored pucks and then create some wild games that had our high school kids playing by unfamiliar rules. We had the several pucks going at the same time. Sometimes the nets would be arranged near neutral ice. Sometimes they'd be turned in different ways. Sometimes the kids were allowed to attack either net. Sometimes we'd allow 3 and 4 units to play at the same time. Again, anything goes in these kinds of games, so long as they kind of mess with the players' heads. Okay, it seems I've dealt with some hockey myths or wives' tales over recent weeks, and I'd like to toss another idea your way. For, when it comes to puck handling, the old expression of keeping one's head up drives me nuts. Oh, I understand the meaning, but I don't think it explains what we'd really like our kids to do. Great players don't skate around with their heads up all the time. In fact, it's impossible to stick handle for very long without checking on the puck. That's why I've, for years, used the expression, keep your eyes up. And with that, I teach my players to carry their heads at about a 45-degree angle so they can look up, all around, and check on the puck regularly without having to bob their heads up and down. So with all that, I truly would love some feedback, good or bad, so I know you guys are appreciating my contributions.
Oh my God!
This has been a local video marketing production. We hope you've enjoyed this, and that you've picked up a number of great hockey tips. Please do tell some friends about these shows, and let the contributing coaches know how much you appreciate them.